on a mountain where the cold wind blows. We can talk about your drink and what you think. Here is
especially with that damn cool touch.
That fucking haircut.
That's the thing.
He's got his summer haircut, look.
We're
Anyway.
standing right in front of the road, Texas, or the Dogtown the other night, and Tara and Tina and we were there with the kids, me and Billy. Here comes this couple down the sidewalk. Their kid looked like Benji. I mean, the same bleached blonde hair, but they had that shit cut into the most proper redneck mullet you ever seen in your life. And like, I seen him come by me, and I'm thinking, dude, that kid looks like Benji. And all of a sudden, he goes by Billy, and Billy's like, scrambling for his phone. And I'm like, dude, I know where this is going. Boom, zoom in, wham, he's taking pictures. As soon as Tara walked back up, he was like, babe,
look what I got.
Of course.
this is going to be Benji. And I mean, as soon as he scrambled for his phone, I knew that he was going to try to get pictures of that mullet.
Waiting for that.
She has threatened bodily harm to me
To your manhood, probably.
if I cut his hair into a mullet. She loves it because it's like, you know, it's perfect and it's her little boy, only little boys, and she, you know, so if I do it, it's gonna have to.
You're going to need to be. You
gonna
better
cut-
have your running shoes.
We're
on.
going to cut his hair on air, is what I'm hearing.
I
It
ain't,
sounds like he's going to pay a visit to the studio.
I ain't trying to get nothing started, but Tara said if he cut that boy's hair into a mullet, she was going to super glue his hand to his balls while he's sleeping.
Oh dear Lord!
Should do it too.
That wouldn't be the worst punishment in the world, I guess.
There's Frank Marshall Davis on the right, and then Obama.
You don't hit nothing on this, dude.
And in Obama's memoir, he
That's it.
talks about Frank Marshall Davis more than anyone else.
Yeah.
Gracias.
That's his real dad.
Zanala.
What's he got, Billy?
Just waiting on y'all.
Oh, I know you're waiting.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the #1 podcast in the German Baptist community, the Appalachian Podcast, brought to you by Wife Technologies. We're back up here, and if you notice from the music today, anytime we do a show up here on the mountain, you're not going to hear garbage-ass failed musician Josh Grice and his band open the show up. We usually play a little bit of something different. We're up here in the mountain studios. First, we have to change. I guess we'll still have to play it sometimes up here, coming up here in the near future. When this becomes a permanent studio, I can't completely throw him off. I got to have source material.
Josh
I got to have source and reference material when I'm talking about how awful he is. People need to understand, well, how do you know? Well, listen to the beginning of every single show we play. That's
he hasn't played up here, and I think that might be the launch of maybe some of his music at the front end. You know, just to throw a.
One of these days, you're going to say something about the failed musician. My daughter's going to be around, and she's going to take care of my light work.
I don't think y'all quite understand.
Yeah, I do.
No. I think you need to help your daughter understand that people are fallible. And just because he is the first band she ever saw, it doesn't mean it's the best band. We all grow up one day and realize what good music is and what it isn't. And she will too. You just have to rip a Band-Aid off. But he deserves no kind of credit.
Ruthless. Billy.
Well-
This is a ruthless opening.
I mean,
He gets
we've
enough
told
glazing
the
from
story
everybody.
before. I mean, Josh Grice has went out of his way multiple times to inconvenience me and make me look like a dummy. So
He did come to your anything but clothes party.
he did, and sternly shook his finger and told everybody you're acting like a bunch of fools. What'd you show up as that night?
Best I remember, wrapped in saran wrap.
No, you.
Oh, me? Wrapped in caution tape.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I cut out a 3-piece suit out of caution tape, duct taped all the seams together on the back, and made a 3-piece suit out of caution tape.
Wow.
And then seen a UFO in Radford.
Yeah, I said wear anything but clothes, and I
That's
think I
awesome.
wore I put together a trash bag and some beer boxes into a little suit, and I think somebody showed up as a suitcase.
Oh, yes.
Somebody showed up as
Only a suitcase with the zipper lid on the front.
Oh no.
people really participated.
Wow.
I think this was right before pictures on social media become a big thing.
Yeah, dude. They ruined it.
Yeah,
They ruined
you
it.
could
How long
do
ago was this?
2005.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Well, so what was your the scary, fancy dress, whatever you want to call it?
I wasn't.
Have you ever done? Well, no, but have you ever? I mean, we need to know what depths
No,
of depravity
actually,
you
honestly,
can go to.
I've never really done the get super dressed up for Halloween.
Oh
today.
man, with that long flowing hair.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Come
this
on,
wasn't
man.
Halloween. This was just
Just a
we
random.
were just wanting a reason to throw a
A
party
random day
and,
in Franklin.
and seeing who
No.
would show up.
What legal clause do I need to pull this information out of you, Chip?
Oh gosh, you can't get that out of them. Yeah, there probably are some pictures. We were always in Greenville in North Carolina or Chapel Hill, and it was either one was trouble.
Well,
Every year.
I'm gonna tell you right now, he got way too much brains to party like we party.
As to
Did it?
Oh yeah,
Did it before mobile bloody
Well,
phones?
I think what
Smart
happened
moves.
is, well, I think I'd get, I'd go so hard so early I'd pass out, and then that would save my brain. That's
God,
what would
you'd
happen.
Be,
That would
you'd
save-
be in trouble with a rugby
That's what
club.
would happen. And I'd wake up when everybody was coming back from downtown.
did you take your shoes off first?
Got to take your shoes off.
I hope so.
well, I know.
Don't
Yeah, I was-
pass out around me with your shoes on.
I was thinking back, and we partied. Like you said, it was wild up there for 2 or 3 years. It was wild back home, and you think about it, and my degree really did nothing for me, but my partying skills did. I mean, it networked with a lot of people, met a lot of people, and a couple of colleges, and you learn to talk to people from Northern Virginia and Richmond and the coast and Southwest Virginia, and then you can come on and doing something like this is a lot easier. Like I've spent a lot of time around a lot of different people, and and throwing those parties have earned me connections that would otherwise have never had.
And some of them people actually went places in life.
Yeah, a lot of them did. Not us so much,
No.
but I've had a fun time, and hopefully here I can tell their stories too. We get some of them back on at some point in time, but yeah, we had a lot of fun, and there was a handful of people about 20 years ago before, like I said, pictures ruined everything. That man, you could throw a shindig and just by word of mouth, 200 people showed. And it would look like Dazed and Confused, the water tower or the moon tower. That's what it'd look like. It really would. A bunch of people out in the field somewhere, or in Amos's case, his house.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some dreadful things that I'm, not necessarily proud of, but I can still look back and laugh. But thank God they weren't caught on film. I mean, it was
Nowadays,
it wasn't
that's the
good.
first thing that everybody does.
I know.
A fight breaks out instead of somebody going and trying
Joining in.
or
Somebody's-
either joining in or negotiating it.
They're filming it.
Yeah, everybody wants to stand there with a camera, even if it's somebody getting shot.
Well,
you know,
the Trump assassination attempt is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Look at the people behind him in the crowd. The one FBI lady in the black hat pulls her phone right out and just starts videoing. Doesn't run, doesn't do anything, just videoing.
well, she thought she was pulling her pistol out. I mean,
Uh-huh. Unlike the Secret Service agent who could put hers away.
dude, and
I mean, I'm glad I raised that very early on in one particular chat, because as soon as I saw that, I went straight on and just went, "Did anybody see?"
oh,
the
I think
Secret
me and you
Service
was on the
agent?"
phone with each other instantly, like, oh my god,
And it was. I mean, to me, that was a defining moment of that whole shit show
Well, how do
because
you-
it exposed everything.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so they had the new acting director in front of Congress today, and like one was like, dude, there ain't even nobody been fired yet, and he was like, well, I'm not gonna rush to judgment. And my first thought was, you don't really need to. There's a few videos. There's at least one person that was around there that you could be like, look, I know, dude, we probably ain't cut out for this.
Well, he, I believe, was the operational Secret Service guy that's come up in that
His
place.
career,
His career, absolutely. But
but
all
so
you're
was the other
doing-
chick.
But all you're doing is replacing one bad tier
Yeah.
of management
another.
with another bad tier of
It's-
management, because the whole upper tier of the Secret Service failed, and they're only going to try and put one person out. And quite frankly, that's just not good enough,
No.
because the whole upper tier management,
The whole upper tier is ruining the whole entire deal.
well, absolutely. I mean,
You
there were the guys that flooded Trump at the time, and the ladies, and they were there to take a shot for him.
oh, they leveled him.
I
too.
mean,
And he's a big dude.
That was heroism in your face.
They knocked the shit out of him.
Yeah. So
Tell you though-
you've got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
But
But
we know
go-
the failure.
Go watch the Reagan assassination attempt and then watch the Trump one. You don't see a centimeter of Reagan once they get on him. Whereas
Yeah.
with the Trump,
They're so much better prepared than the first, and
they're more competent.
right.
And there weren't any 5'3" ladies. Donald Trump's 6'3". I'm sorry.
That's two. That's
Fine.
two.
She jumped up there.
That's a two
She's not.
fireman list.
She's not protecting shit.
No, now if you're 5'2", and you can pick pennies off a fence post at 1,000 yards.
Put her on top of the building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where there wasn't nobody, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, there was somebody there.
But we've gone over this. We know. I mean, it's now coming out, but not in its entirety. Now, I would urge everyone to listen to Bongino on this. He has his sources. He was Secret Service and lots of other good stuff.
Listen to his podcast, not when he's on TV.
But absolutely.
Yeah.
You get the real Dan
His own
Bongino
show,
there.
yeah.
Dude, I like him.
And he's coming out with the whole plot. And the exposure, quite frankly, is really disturbing. But will it see mainstream media? No, of course it won't.
There's a lot of.
That's the good side about the social media thing.
It is.
You know, a lot of stuff that could get swept under the carpet for years and years, it ain't so easy no more. You know, when you got a million videos that people can go see before they, they'll take it down maybe, or scrub the pictures off of Facebook of
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Trump.
4chan's
But it don't
got
matter. It's out there. It's done.
Well, conspiracy theory,
Well, that's out there too.
exactly. It then transitions very quickly into facts.
Oh, well, especially when it's dead silence. If you want to minimize conspiracy theory, first and foremost, have a record telling the truth. And secondly,
Not possible.
as soon as it happens, you have to explain
Look, I think
what is known then and there.
I think there's two plausible big picture scenarios that have gone on here. And the first is that it all happened the way that it's being presented that it happened, that it was a real assassination attempt, and that he was actually supposed to die just like Kennedy did. And they would have had their story straight rolling that out. But because the shot missed,
But where is
we
that
have
story?
seen them
It's
scrambling, trying to come up with a plausible narrative to explain the events of that day. And I think that's why it's been so disjointed and disconnected with them, because they did not have a plan B ready. They thought he was going to be
But
pink mist on the screen.
in the Kennedy era, they could. The only thing anybody had to go on was their story.
Well, So the other scenario is that this is more of some sort of manufactured event, because there are, if you look at this with any sort of critical eye, and you're just not on Team Trump, there are a lot of inconsistencies.
Okay, there are.
There are a lot of issues with the amount of blood, with the wound, with the Secret Service letting him stand back up and pump his fist, the perfect picture. The same guy who took that picture took the picture of the Secret Service whispering in Bush's ear on the morning of 9/11.
You
The
have done
same
some
guy.
research, and I commend you.
Now,
for
the
your
other
research.
thing, the supposed photo of the bullet whizzing past his head, to be able to capture that on film, you
In
have
that
to
light.
have such an extreme setting on your camera that no one would have had that
was
setting during the daytime.
that was Doxon.
So there's a lot, either that is completely fake, or the cameraman knew that you're going to have to catch something at a super high speed, and you need this 8,000 plus whatever
Oh
setting.
yeah,
and
Blah,
the shutter
blah, blah.
speed and
the shutter speed, yeah.
stability to take that one shot, even if you're doing a blast.
Now you can see right before the shots happen, the Secret Service go to the Pulitzer Prize winning cameraman who took the photo with Bush and took the iconic photo
Yeah.
with the flag behind him. He was actually behind the stage before it started. Secret Service, there's video of this. The guy, Secret Service, walks up to him and ushers him around the front.
Wow. Yeah.
Then
I mean,
you've got the
And
reaction.
then, during the same guy that took the picture of the bullet, did the same dude take the picture of him with his fist up? No. But the dude that took the picture of the bullet is also the same dude that took the picture of all you see is like him, his face or something in between all the Secret
Yes.
Service. The same guy took them two pictures.
Yeah.
Not
So-
with the same camera. He didn't,
No,
because let me tell you that
it wouldn't
the
have worked.
way that works, you've
Yeah.
got to actually to catch a bullet.
Yeah,
You've got to film.
it's
and
crazy.
It sounds bizarre.
You also
But
have to
I've
know where
seen
the
it
bullet's
happen.
going, right? I mean, when you see
gotta-
these things,
you've gotta
on,
film
like,
in
the
slow
internet,
motion.
The bullet's going in slow motion.
You have,
It's a range, and you know exactly the bullet's going.
but
Yeah,
you have to
that's
film in
like
slow
them
motion.
Videos, that's not a camera shots they're doing. That I mean, they have set up,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
ridiculous.
you can't
slow
catch a
mo
bullet. You can't
where
catch
to
a bullet
watch
just
the bullet come
as
out
a
of the barrel,
one-off.
that kind of stuff.
There's, that was.
Man,
It's
but you're not
absolutely
seeing the bullet
manufactured.
in that picture. That's not the bullet anyway. That's like the supersonic
Oh, that's
rings
yes, yeah.
that are left behind.
Well, no, they claim that picture that they showed in USA
Well,
Today.
look-
they are saying that is the actual
Yeah,
bullet.
I know,
that
but
you're
they also was
seeing.
talking about an AR-13.
Well, I
before,
know.
too.
Yeah. The other thing is
What's that?
and
right.
more people need to be taught the reaction of the crowd. It's not right for a shooting. It's just not, man.
Well, they
I-
claim
You got people that are just like la-di-da, whatever. Look, there
Yeah, but
would have
also
been
you-
massive chaos, and there just wasn't.
I
wasn't.
think though that most people didn't even know what happened
I don't think so either.
because the loudspeakers. It's loud,
Here's the other thing.
And,
So,
and I think because you look like, I honest to God, don't think people even realized what was going on.
well, here, how about the people that are screaming, "Hey, a guy right here has been shot in the head," but no one right around him is doing anything. They're not ushering
Well, there
their
was-
kids away from him quickly. They're not. It's just not something's wrong with it. And several people have identified several crisis actors in behind Trump in these photos that have been at several other events that have giant questions as to whether their authenticity.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. I
So-
refuse to accept anything staged until I have exhausted all my means of proving to myself that it couldn't be anything else. For the simple reason that, a dude got killed. Now, I can't imagine.
We think.
Dude, I can't. I really
Well,
can't imagine.
with 8 random rounds that didn't hit their principal target,
Well, 3.
the collateral damage is significant with 8 rounds,
Yeah.
right? In that tight crowd. I'm staggered only one guy was killed in that crowd. Staggered.
That's another thing. I mean,
Well, the whole.
here's a question for you. So you got, Trump, they rush him off. He's fist pumping. He's standing up at the car, fist pumping again somehow, even though there's shooters on the loose. It's how is it that some people that were at the rally got to the fucking hospital before Trump got there and were videoing Trump pulling into the hospital?
Well,
How is that happening?
the other 2 guys that were shot in Trump, they didn't take them straight. They like did a field some kind.
No, Trump did not get on the lifelines. The life flights. The 2 guys that were critical went on the life flight helicopters. Trump went straight to the hospital. Straight to.
Well, if it's just so, let's be honest. I mean, look at how many people get their ears pierced. And if it went through his ear right here,
Yeah.
there ain't no blood.
Oh no, ears are bleeders. Trust me, ears are bleeders.
See, that's what everybody says, and everything I've read
Yeah, but-
online is that the ears bleed more than anything
It
else.
depends on
does.
parts of it.
You might, you can.
I mean, I'll take a hole puncher and stab holes the size of my thumb through a cow's ear, and if you feel it between the blood vessels, there's no blood, not one drop. If you hit a blood vessel, that shit, yeah. And them ear tags are big holes.
Mhm.
But if you feel,
But you've got to get it
just
in
like
the right
your
spot.
ear, if you hit,
If you go to,
Mhm.
yeah, you feel where you're putting your
Yeah.
punch, so you're going for, not a part that's going to.
well, I mean, I
Tear
guess
or
from
bleed.
everything I've seen, here's how I feel about it. I feel like the Secret Service was literally the absolute that incompetent.
Well, yeah.
Now, did he have a handler? I can't say that I think he did or did.
I don't think that kid took the shots.
Oh, I do.
I don't. If you really look at the angles and everything else, man, it
Well,
doesn't
that makes
add
sense,
up
but
that he's
that
the
makes
shooter.
perfect sense to me because where that roof is, he was almost exactly straight across from the stage, and the dude that got killed that was in that side bleacher. So that's the 3 people that got hit wasn't behind him; they were in that side bleacher. And I think when you see all them people behind Trump when all that happened, there was a bleacher here, and a bleacher behind him, and a bleacher here,
Yeah.
and the shooter was over top of that side bleacher shooting across
Stage right, yeah. going
into
across.
and so the people behind Trump, the sound and stuff would have been muffled a lot from that other. I honestly don't think they even. Well, it's obvious by looking at the pictures. They didn't realize what the hell was going on. Hell, in the video, the one Secret Service woman's like, "What are we doing?" She didn't even know what was going
Go
on.
back.
They're so
know,
incompetent.
There's just so much about it that is questionable. So much.
Well, now that the body camera footage has come out, Like-
And the local
like
police department
where-
is like, "F you, for
where
throwing us under
they-
the bus." Here's our text message.
like where he was on the roof where he was on the roof is not where he supposedly shot from. There's all sorts of problems.
Don't think there aren't people out there now going around with metal detectors
trying to find those bullets,
looking for those rounds.
You need to. They should have found them already.
No.
They're not letting anybody near that building yet. That's still
yeah.
That's still according
But
to active crime scene because of course there's people lining the roads around that building every day waiting to the moment that they can get close.
They've let a lot of people in there trampling around on shit though. They let the Congress guys in there. They let you know what I mean. Like I don't trust them at all. I mean, that's like that one representative from Florida. I forget his name, but he's been palling around with Eli Crane. He said he's going to start a parallel investigation to the Ron Johnson one because he doesn't trust any of the people Ron Johnson put on that
It's funny
committee.
you say all this because a couple weeks ago, we didn't get a chance to really go in detail about it. We had Matthew Rife on, but we talked about it a bit. And I said, look, there's a 10% of me at the least thinks they have fooled us before. They fool us on both sides. If you think it's just the left trying to pull the wool over the eyes of their constituents, you're
right.
fooling yourself. They do the same thing to us. And so Donald Trump knows how to play the part. He's played in the WWE. I mean, that is a part of a gangster of an American.
Hall of
You know,
Famer.
he's been in Hollywood his entire life around those circles. It's not hard to think that couple, fake bullets, fake rounds or whatever, dummy rounds or whatever are fired off. That's the signal. He grabs his ear with a blood bubble or something like that. And that's why he's allowed to get back up in that iconic photo, twist things around, because maybe the next phase, they need all the people on the right to get behind it. And it's going to be to come in and do a lot of atrocious things. And they're going to be able to blame it all on Donald Trump.
I'm just saying you can't rule it out yet.
No, you shouldn't rule anything out.
This was a completely staged
But you can't
event.
be willing to go down a rabbit hole.
No, you can't say it is either.
Right off the rip.
No, you have to look at all of the stuff that's out there and just it's not. There's a lot of inconsistencies.
Let me transition into something else that will come back full circle, I'm sure. Is now that we've seen that play out, and it's going to play out for months, so we know that there's something afoot. And now we have, Biden stepping down. That now has a presumptive.
He didn't step down.
Oh no, of course he didn't step down. But let me make my point. What we're seeing now is where the media were being so castigated for their lack of truth in reporting, right? And they've had the opportunity now to really address their ethics, But as soon as Kamala comes on the scene, all the lies start coming back. And they're peddling the same shit. So it's a continuation of lies. And all we're seeing now is lies.
That's what we've seen for forever. It's no different.
They used to have a little bit of truth in it. Yes.
Because back then, now you only had 4 channels. They could control everything. You only had, regional newspapers, and not everybody could be connected in an instant. You could lie about something in California, and nobody in Virginia. I mean, there were things going on in California that people in Virginia didn't know about ever, if not much.
Well, that's all right.
That's what I'm saying, though. But it's just technology has changed. Technology has certainly changed. We get stuff instantaneous right into our brains, and we're thinking this is going on everywhere when it's just a small, small pocket on a small couple of blocks in a big-ass city somewhere. Like, a lot of this stuff is fed into our brains constantly for the fear factor. Like, you're seeing all this stuff they always posting, people robbing stores and people jumping people. They want you mad. They want you mad.
That's actually a very good point. But
a lot of that stuff is happening tremendously more than it ever was.
Well, but the 60s
were wild. The 60s, there were pipe bombs everywhere. There were terrorist attacks. Things were wild in the 60s, but it wasn't well documented because not everybody had documentation in their pockets. But
no, because in the 60s, if it was one street against the other street, pipe bombing each other, it was contained.
Well, and if we're talking about Harris, and we're talking about, you can now see that it really is just about a narrative. You can put any person in that spot. It's just pushing the same thing, sure. And the tribe is going to vote for them, regardless of who they are.
Heels up Harris.
Well, this is such a problem because the DNC is facing, without any question in my mind, they're facing a constitutional crisis.
There is no DNC.
Yeah.
Well,
some back.
There's going to be 5,000 super delegates that sort that shit out. Let me tell you, and that game's already played.
The virtual convention for them is in a few days.
Yeah,
where they're actually gonna
vote. This is when we will now see the 5,000.
And I think that
delegates.
old Big Mike and Barack still are. Even though they came out with that fake AI phone call or whatever that bullshit was,
he's pissed.
I think that they are still going to try to get someone else in there because they know she's a loser.
Dude, I think
they know she's a loser.
Biden throwing his support behind her was the last FU to Obama.
I think it was too. They don't get along. They never have.
Hell no.
They never got along.
He needed Biden for the white vote.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And
you're saying Biden is DEI?
No, I think Biden's probably one of the nastiest, most racist white people that I know. If you look at his speeches,
he was awful.
That was a nasty man.
He said the N-word more than anybody in Callaway ever has.
Yeah.
Well, Billy, I need to know, were you on that phone call last night? The white guys for Harris?
Guys for Harris?
Were you on white guys
One
for Harris?
One of us should have snuck into that.
No, he was still in France showing his nuts during opening ceremonies.
We all saw it, Billy.
I did see some blue paint on his ankles.
You are in showbiz, ain't you?
Well, they have actually scrubbed all of that off of the internet at this point in time, but if you want to see it, you can go to patreon.com/getontap and become a subscriber where you will see
just a dime a day.
Yep.
You know it.
Minimum. You can do more. You can do more for you people with deeper pockets, but I mean, $3, it's less than a gallon of gas. It's
the same.
Not quite a coffee cup.
It is something though, Simon, that, and we've seen it in the past like month and a half. We've seen it 2 or 3 times now where right after the debate, the talking points were there.
Oh, yeah.
They were ready. And I mean, it just shifted on a dime. This guy's got to go. The second that he writes that whatever fucking Twitter post that he resigns from the race.
That was a bomb.
That was a hostage. That was a hostage situation.
Isn't that like breaking up with a long-term girlfriend?
Oh, it was bad.
It was worse than that, mate.
Yeah, but anyway, so then the second that comes out, you've got the media immediately. Border czar? What border czar? She was never border czar. She had nothing to do with the border. And I mean, it's every point. Oh, she never wanted to defund the police. No, it was an immediate switch.
And how have they been allowed to get away with that?
Because they are purely propaganda. I mean, in 2012, in the Defense Authorization Act under Obama, they updated the Smith-Mund Act, and it's called the Smith-Mund Modernization Act, and it legalized domestic propaganda. I mean, they were already doing it, but they fully on legalized it. And in the 70s at the church committee hearings, the CIA admitted they had over 500 people in newsrooms all across the country. That's in the 70s.
Oh, they control it now.
So I mean, now and even the ones, these blonde bimbos that don't know they're controlled. You know what I mean? So it's like they've got this mechanism.
Yeah, it's not like
it's
not like some supervillain MI6 that hung out with Simon back in the day, and she's sneaking around in labs. You know what I mean?
He's not gonna let that go.
No, they go to some dipshit and they say, "Hey, I'm going to be your source. I'm going to give you these stories, and it's going to push you right up to the top."
That, or they're like, "Hey, you know, I was at that party where you took that kid in that bedroom last week, and this is what you're going to do."
No, that's another way they do it.
You know what I mean? Like
this is what you're going to say.
Yeah,
Bad Dad Bob.
Yeah, it's what happens.
Yeah,
and people are starting to figure it out. They're starting to trust them less.
Well,
but they've got this machine that just like from Morning Joe rolls out the talking points for the day, and then all of the other networks and shows just repeat them over and over. Like the newest narrative. The newest narrative is. Weird. Exactly.
It's weird.
They're going after these guys are just weird.
In the last 2 days, they say that like CNN, MSNBC, whatever, they've used the word weird describing Trump and Vance like 300 times or something.
It's coordinated manipulation.
Everybody.
I saw a 3-minute compilation where they just do it over and over and over and over and over.
So this tells me
it's crazy.
As one person says, the word of the week is weird.
Yeah.
This tells me the fix is in.
Yep, could be.
The fix is in.
Yeah.
They have not let go of the fix. It's going to happen. Just watch out.
Oh, they're going to try to steal it again.
Oh, yeah.
It's on. I mean,
the fix is in. Whether it's constitutional, and absolutely won't be.
Look, they
because how
destroyed the
DNC is
Constitution
behaving.
in 2020.
Well,
I mean,
that's just a talking point. I mean,
Yeah,
the Constitution's not a real thing. It's just
And
a
now
talking
Biden's
point.
coming out with some what is it? He's trying to change with the Supreme Court. And all
well,
this
he's
nonsense.
all of a sudden he's come back and he's 6'7". Also,
Oh, I did see that.
I
Actually.
mean,
That was
it's
hysterical.
clearly not the same guy. I mean, can we all just be honest about this now? They're rolling out people in masks and with the talking things in their mouth so they sound the same. I mean, they've had this technology
I
for
saw
years
that this
and
morning.
years.
A 3 or 4 inch difference in height.
Yeah, I mean,
it was clear as day.
Yeah.
There was like 30 Saddam Husseins.
yeah.
That's why I'd sit there and swear up and down all day long. They'd never hung the real Saddam Hussein.
No, they didn't.
Never in a million. And
How would they know?
I
Yeah.
thought that in 2003 when it happened.
I got the real Saddam Hussein.
Before,
No,
I was
the-
sitting there thinking to myself, I was
Back
like,
here
you're
in
going
the
to tell me
Actually, I'm going to pin
the
real
man who
Saddam
ruled this
Hussein up
entire
here on
country, who had millions and billions of dollars in
250,000 dinar note or whatever it
resources,
is.
is going to be hiding out in a hole somewhere?
In a spider hole with Dorito bags.
No. This man is in Jordan or Syria.
Now he's on an island somewhere with every other one of these
And
world
there's no
leaders
way
that
to
they
know
get
what-
rid of.
They have no way of knowing. I mean,
everybody gets their win.
they have
Like
no
everybody
way
now,
of
it
knowing
seems,
his blood
it
type.
seems justified now.
All
and
they
how
need is a
people
photograph.
can cheer and
Same with Osama
But if
bin
there's
Laden.
20 of them running,
exactly.
or
And-
out of
Yeah, more than likely
Argentina.
he lived in Argentina.
I
yeah,
feel
man.
certain.
I don't think there's much question about that.
Look, the Nazis didn't lose the war; they took over the United States. I mean, we brought 32,000 of them. That's the ones we count. It was probably double or triple that over here, and they ran everything.
But-
that's what we were living under today.
Well, their
there's another
scientists,
bomb.
their scientists helped us a lot. I like that.
Shit,
Well,
they
help this
faked
is,
us going
they
to
were
space,
NASA.
going to fake space.
Von Braun. God was a genius.
Yeah, you know what's on his tombstone, right?
I mean, I'm kind of
Yes,
partial
he
to
told
Germans,
me.
so-
yeah, you ain't getting out of this firmament.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't get out. It's all fake.
We're number one in that community, so we're good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the German Baptist memes have been all over the place this past week with the roofs and everything. I will say that. They were
They can handle a slope.
absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm
And
kind of
I hit
thinking.
more in the ear. My brother's blind, so blind he got rear-ended and knocked his glasses off. He couldn't even figure out how to get out of the truck. And when this happened, I was like, Jeremiah, I was like, 130 yards. You hit more ear? He said, I'd blow a deer's eye out without my glasses on.
Oh, Billy's alcohol abuse. Come on, man.
Oh,
It's modern
man.
technology.
That is, yeah.
We got to cut
more.
you off, man.
No more.
But yeah, you know, as soon as that excuse come out, I was like, I built houses my whole life. The roof they're standing on is probably a 412. That roof's a 212, which they said it's a 112, which I'm not sure I believe because Pennsylvania, their snow load, you have to have like a 212.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could she not be a bigger patsy?
I know shit.
The
Well, she's as big as
Secret
Patsy as the
Service.
kid
I mean,
they
it's just-
supposedly killed on the roof.
Her whole career, Secret Service.
No, she was
Secret Service
to
go
go
to Pepsi,
to Pepsi. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then back to Secret Service.
Yeah.
That's sketchy. That's
Oh,
not.
dude,
That's not normal.
I felt as sorry for her as I did Obama during the Biden during the debate.
I
It's
did.
cringeworthy.
Dude, she had no clue what she was doing.
No,
Oh, no
because,
idea.
well, here's why. Because from the first thing I said, because they had a narrative ready for when they blew his head off. They did not have a narrative ready for missing him. They did not have
With
that
8
narrative
shots?
ready.
How do you get 8 shots off? And you've got an 18
Did he
minute
do?
warning.
Did he get 8 off?
Supposedly.
Allegedly.
Like I thought
Supposedly.
between the Secret Service and
I've only counted 7 shots when I listened
And-
to
and
it.
I-
But
I think that between him and the Secret Service,
yeah, there's 7
They-
shots.
because there's 2 different sniper shot too.
Yeah.
They are saying that 8 casings were on the roof of where the sniper took his shots. That's what they're saying.
That's a slope roof. That couldn't have been affected.
Unless they were German Baptist.
Put some DM on it, it'll stick.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it was a very sticky shell
The other thing is,
casings.
so from where the body is on the body cam footage does not add up to where, like the testimony from the people on the ground that say, hey, there's a guy here shooting. And where the body is, he did not have a shot at hitting Trump on the body cam footage.
But I don't think the people on the ground, they seen him at a certain point, you can't see him no more. Because that roof's flat enough and big enough that it, you know.
Yeah, if you're not within like 5 feet of the edge,
Well, you'd have to be
you're not
way back
seeing
to
them
see
at
up
all.
on there.
It's called micro terrain.
Yeah.
Well,
what?
and
Micro terrain. He was hiding behind micro terrain.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a smart move. Micro terrain, people underestimate.
And wearing gray clothes, and it was like a light colored roof.
Yeah, it was like a tannish.
But you know, they were talking about, well, he only has, well, if you look at that building, I built a few. Yeah, that's a tall building. But if you look at it, there's like that entryway that goes in between the next building. I bet that wall ain't 8 feet. And then it goes up, and I bet you could jump from that roof up on the next one. Cause, you know, I guess them cops were trying to get up there, the local cops. And that's when they said he turned and pointed a rifle at him, and the dude jumped back down. And then the guy commenced to shooting at Trump. You know, to me, if that part's true, you know, and you got local cops involved, and you know, Secret Service trying to throw them under the bus, and they ain't having it.
The Secret Service blew off the meeting with local cops that morning at 9 a.m. They just didn't show up.
Right.
so well, I was just going to say you can whittle this down. It seems to two scenarios: either it was staged, either this was a staged event, or Trump's balls are bigger than the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, it's either one or the other. Because if he gets up and actually pumps his fist and he's saying "fight, fight, fight," and this is real,
But
who the fuck does
in
that?
that video though, you can hear one of the Secret Service people say "shooter down" or "shooters down," and that was before they ever stood him up.
Mm-hmm.
But still, how do you only know there's one shooter if they're not in on it?
Well, it's just that.
But I'm saying it's Trump.
You've got to be
Now Trump and the way Trump thinks.
Trump tried to go back to the podium. One of the Secret Service guys had to push the podium
like he was gonna
over
go
he asked for his shoes, didn't he?
and then he was like, "Get my shoes, get my
Yeah,
shoes."
He want to walk off. That's wild, though. Like who does
I
that?
think he does. I mean,
That's
I think
wild.
business wise, if you realize, you know, if it went down like that, and you realize it's a superficial shot,
Right.
you know, it's not in your head.
Still, that's
You got to think that way.
that's crazy.
That's a businessman.
That's
It
incredible.
goes to Billy's point of the showmanship that Trump has, being in WWE, being a Hall of Famer, being an actor,
You're fired.
he knew that
He knew the photo
taking
moment.
advantage
He knew the photo
of that
for
moment,
sure.
and then you get the guy in the perfect position to take the photo. It's like look,
and that's going into it's a staged event, but the fact remains.
No, it
There
goes
was-
into what
there
Eric
was-
Holder said.
Well, there was
Never
eight-
let a good moment go to waste.
Absolutely, there were 18 minutes, which is the least amount of time. I'm favouring blowing my theory out of the water. There were 18 minutes where there was a threat, and everyone knew about it, and he was still allowed to go on the podium.
Yeah.
That's the biggest tell of everything.
Yeah.
That's the breakdown right there. And that's where it starts.
yeah.
He was allowed to go on a podium
So
with a threat.
are you saying you think that the FBI knew ahead of time this guy was thinking about doing this and just kind of said, you know what? Let's let him take a shot.
Well, considering that somebody who visits the FBI building all the time in Washington, D.C., was also visiting that guy's house all the time based on geo data from the phones.
I did see that.
Yep. They were handling this kid.
Well,
Just like they handle all of these supposed school shooters.
Let's
and-
also mention the fact that they're putting out this schoolboy image face, which they've done many, many times before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, on alternate news feeds, we're getting a picture of this cross-dressing
yeah.
trans who's got bank accounts in 3 different.
Well, what's the explanation of that, or was that
international
just a
bank
distraction?
I don't know
over-
why the press would be putting again. It's driving a false narrative.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, but it's come out now that you've seen the shooter in an LGBTQA. What the fuck ever? I've given up with that shit.
But I don't know if it's the real guy.
I
Who
don't
knows?
either.
Nobody
And
does.
see, I don't think,
Exactly.
and I don't think the kid in the BlackRock ad is the same kid either.
We
I don't
just
think it's
don't-
the same kid.
We are being lied to.
well,
Well,
yeah,
the black- I mean, they
enough is
pulled that
enough.
ad.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Enough
Because
is
they knew.
enough.
I mean,
Well, that was. I think they confirmed it. didn't
yeah,
they?
they confirmed that they did a ad at that school
with him,
and he
Yeah.
was not with him. He just happened to be
Oh, right. He was in
in the background. He was
video,
just
He
one
was
of.
in there twice, though. He was like one of the featured people
Well,
up front.
they picked
Mhm.
so many kids, and he tried out for the shooting team up there, and they said failed that.
But 8 fast rounds at 138 yards, right? And you didn't get your mark.
And the guy's 6'4",
on.
215,
Standing on a
220.
stage by himself.
You know.
Now, is that podium? Is it bulletproof? They said the banner thing in front. They say that's all bulletproof behind it.
And I heard his hat is actually lined with Kevlar material too. The hat he wears.
Did they confirm the gun? I mean, is it an AR-15? Was it? I mean,
Well, that's what they said.
And they did, and I did find out this morning.
Okay.
They confirmed
Okay.
it was
223.
only a 1x scope.
Okay,
So it
was
wasn't a
reflex
5x
scope.
or a 10x that like really dials it in.
130 yards. You do
You
not.
can do it iron.
well, but he had, but
Absolutely.
wasn't
You
the?
better be able to do
I
it
mean,
with
what
irons.
didn't he a bad shot? I mean, wasn't that like one of the things is he couldn't?
Well, that's
he couldn't hack
that's
it?
the narrative that the media was putting.
Well,
out.
so-
no,
is that a
I'm
narrative?
saying
Is
at
it-
the school, like his schoolmates that was on the shooting
That's
team
it.
said that he couldn't make the cut
There's an interesting
on the
story.
shooting team.
Just
Well,
slide
and-
that
and
down.
also, I mean,
You're right,
just
you're right.
let's say that kid did actually shoot. Think about how fast his heart was fucking pounding. Think about, like,
Especially if a
like-
cop had just looked over the roof at you.
yeah, think about how
Right,
wet
that's true.
his man woman parts were.
Okay, so he was
And,
spraying and praying.
Yeah,
How
so
come
he
he
was just,
was spraying and praying? How do you explain only one death?
It's tough to.
But
That's what
hit
I'm
two
saying.
others.
How do you explain only one death?
You just don't
Those
see
rounds, the 223 or 556 is supersonic. Is punching through, right?
Well,
not
it's
tumbling.
possible after his first shot he took on Trump and everything started happening, he kind of raised up a little bit, and a few of them went over the head till he lowered them back down, and that's when he hit a couple of people.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, to me, that 8 rounds and only one
Look,
dead. Thank the
The
Lord.
thing
it was
is,
only
analyze
one.
the
It could have
video,
been a
man.
lot
There
more.
aren't that many shots. So if Secret Service then shot him too, that's a 9th shot. I don't
There
hear
was two-
9 shots.
There was 2 shots. Secret Service and local SWAT. There was 2.
They
shot.
There were 2
That's
shots.
what I'm saying. So that's 2 more shots. So
Yeah.
that's 10 shots. I don't hear 10 shots. Does anybody
Now,
else hear 10
like
shots?
like when I hear that, I hear like,
you hear 3 and then 4.
well, there's it's like 1 or 2 quick, and then there's a pause, and then a couple more, and then you can hear it's a different sound. The 2 sniper shots.
Their
Yeah,
guns
you
are
can
very
hear them.
different. Their guns are very different.
Well, they
yeah.
probably got big silencers. I don't know.
Well,
But
they
that-
were probably 308s.
Well, and
Yeah.
I meant the speed. It's
Right,
it's a different.
yeah.
They had heavier caliber.
well, the
round
picture
than
I seen of him on the
5.56.
roof, it was
It was.
seemed like
oh,
it might have been
yeah.
a 308 hit him.
It was. It was
I'm
probably.
sure.
a 308, yeah.
Probably a couple in
Well,
succession.
you can theorize all day long about what happened or what possibly happened or what side, but here we are now, and what does it mean going forward? I think that's the biggest question.
And with the
we
way
have
it
to- we
went,
have
who
to ask
benefits?
ourselves.
Trump
Yes.
benefits.
No,
Well,
well,
the narrative at the moment with the mainstream corporate media doing what they're doing, spreading all lies, is that apparently Kamala, the presumptive,
Well, she's getting that bump, and
Well,
she
yeah,
is getting
you're
that
gonna
big
get
bump.
that
Yeah,
but
she got that dead cat bounce.
that's it. And it's starting to come back. So
but
now
the
we're going to see where
glory
it goes from here.
behind this lifting.
hmm
I mean, again, it's unprecedented.
if
It is.
if it was all put together, if it's all put together, then all right, we didn't kill him. We don't have a narrative. You ain't got an option. You're out. You embarrassed
Yep.
us at the debate.
Yep.
We can't jump Kamala, and Biden's war chest can only be used by Kamala.
That's right.
So we can now. What I want to know is
That was a key point. Say
Yeah.
that one more time.
Yeah, the money.
The war
the
chest.
money could only because it was raised by the Biden
Biden
Harris team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only person that is allowed to touch that war chest is her.
And they had to do some
90 million.
they had to do some
or more.
finagling to even transfer that over.
Yeah. So,
So
you know,
Mhm.
all of a sudden she'd come out, man, she's doing so good. Her first 48 hours, she raised 200 million. Is that including that? How much ever was in
yes.
that war chest?
yes.
Yeah. So you're,
Of course. it is.
so you really only raised 50 million. The rest of it we already had.
Not even that. Go watch the Act Blue exposés that are out there now, where these, they say it's coming. Oh, it's coming from small individual donors, people that just want to see her, whatever. Well, James O'Keefe and other people are showing up because you can get these records of who donated. They're going to people's houses that supposedly donated to Act Blue that have donated 300 times in the past 3 months somehow.
Like $10 here,
yeah,
$20
here
there.
every time, and they've donated. Oh, it says, well, in the past 2 months, you've donated $8,000 to Act
Well,
Blue,
also-
and they're like, no, I haven't donated in 2
You
years.
also donate $10 from you, $10 from your kid.
They're
$10
donated, so they're just flooding dirty drug money or whatever money into this race through these fake.
And they probably got bots doing it. I mean, they're probably just pulling a database and
they've got the database of
Right.
who was donated, and then they're just saying they donated. Some of them are donating 10, 20 times a day.
Yeah.
So that's where all of this money has come from. This
So
is
it's like
all
wand to the ballot stuff.
This is all
Stuff with
astroturfing
money.
bullshit. It's
And so,
all
how, so how do you go
astroturf.
after that when Biden's your FEC? I mean, he's your.
can't.
That's right.
There ain't no way to go by.
That's right. He's your DOJ. He's your FEC. He's not gonna go after him.
And the only way to beat it is do the same thing they're doing.
Well, but they'll bust you for it.
Well, I'm saying,
I mean, look at what's his the Indian guy Dinesh D'Souza when he was, they tried to throw him in jail for donating a little bit too much money to somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and what hurts me a lot is from the time I left the German Baptist Church and started learning about politics and things. Because I mean, I grew up, everything was the truth. Man asked to borrow $5,000 from you, shook your hand, you guarantee it's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know somebody'd look you in the face and lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I honestly, and I figured that out.
yeah,
But America right now is so ripe for a third party, some kind of common sense party, but it can't be had.
a second party.
Well, they
It
won't
can't be
allow
done.
it. They won't allow it.
That's it. They sue to keep you out.
In talking to Topher Fields' buddy,
Mhm.
we don't know what he does. He might
He
work with
wouldn't tell
Simon,
us.
for all we know.
He wouldn't tell us.
He was talking about how in Australia you have a first vote, second vote, third vote. So you
It made infinite sense.
yes,
Well, that's called ranked choice voting. And
I don't like it.
they're trying to bring it.
I don't like.
That
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like ranked choice voting at
that's
all.
what it is. That's what
Look,
it is.
we just need
what
actual.
we kindly are right now.
No, we need real, actual voting. We have not actually been voting for our representatives for a long time. It has all been rigged. It has all been rigged
town level.
since these machines have come in.
Let's
They
set up
can.
more parties. Let's just remove the parties.
They
Don't
can-
put a D or R.
Oh, that's,
Yes.
that's what I think.
Let people vote on somebody. They got to research them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Research
But that's the
them.
problem. The
Don't-
parties are actual independent organizations, and they'll sue to
That's
keep
right.
Yeah,
everybody out. It's a mafia.
And-
I mean, look at what they've done. Look, like Trump or not, they have done everything they possibly can to keep that man away from it. Look what they did to Ron Paul. When Ron Paul was, more people wanted Ron Paul in 2012 than any of the other candidates, and they fought tooth and nail to keep him off the debate stage.
They did him what the Democrats did to
and
Bernie.
they
in
Bernie-
2016.
exactly right.
They
thing.
completely screwed him over at that convention.
Yep.
And because he had a real chance, and I think he had a chance of beating Obama, to be honest with you. So, but
He was the voice of reason.
since they've brought in these machines, and even before that, they would stuff ballots and do those sorts of things. But these machines, they're unbeatable. It doesn't matter. They can pull from the voter rolls. They can switch people on and off voter rolls.
We saw it happen
all
at 3 o'clock in the
digitally,
morning.
just like
Right.
that. And
But-
so it doesn't matter if they don't want Trump to win this race coming up, they're going to steal it with the voting machines. It's a
But now,
question.
what happens though if we get a situation like what's going on in Venezuela right now, where the exit polls were so ridiculous?
That's the thing. Do we have the balls to stand up and
Because
tell them no?
It has to be the exact right moment.
Well,
Because if it's not the right moment,
in 2020,
January 6th.
in 2020, we didn't
Yeah.
we didn't all have the balls to stand up and do it. But if they steal it again, I think that it is going to
And
happen.
you got to have the military. And I mean,
kind of do.
You,
Or not have them.
well,
They either got to have the balls not to intervene.
yeah.
well, that's
or say, hey.
that's a big ask.
Well, that's what happened in Venezuela. The military said, hey,
They handed over their guns last night.
yeah, they were like,
Right.
listen,
We're done.
we're done.
Yeah.
That changes things quick.
It
Well,
does.
if
That's what you
but
need.
the thing is, if they see
But they
100,
shouldn't hand their
if
guns.
they see 100 million
Exactly.
people walking outside their house and getting in their cars and driving to a certain place,
Mhm.
the military will say, "Okay, we
Well,
got you."
Mhm.
Not China.
Well, you,
Military says, all right,
I don't know.
build another camp.
I don't have a great deal of faith in the.
I don't have it in the up. I don't have it in the upper
military-
brass.
Well, and it's you've seen the DEI folks testify,
But I
they're
think
there.
that
But the upper brass are not the ones holding the gun.
that's the thing. I think I
Are not
honestly,
the ones commanding the fleets.
I think if you see most of the rank, most of the lower level military sees that sort of movement coming from the actual people that they've had enough, and they're going to go occupy Washington or wherever it is until this shit changes. I think they actually march into those offices and wrangle those weirdy tranny, tranny generals, and
I see the
string
lower
'em up.
tier. I see the lower tier military being more woke than I would like,
Well, now, yes,
and that's lower tier. So it's percolated down, and the good guys have either
retired out or left.
retired out or left.
Well, here's the one thing you got to keep in mind, though. Still, at the end of the day, the toughest people in the military, the strongest people, are still doing the jobs a lot of the weirdos aren't going to do anyway. These weirdos, the ones you see in these commercials, they're admin, they're quartermasters. They're not out there in the grind and stuff. And the ones in the grind, those guys still have to have a little bit of something about them that keeps them grounded. And those guys, let's say, even best if 50% of them defect, for every career person you have in the military, you have 10 veterans out there that said, fuck that bullshit. I'm not sticking around.
Well, that's the thing.
And out of those 10 veterans, you probably got 7 of them that are like, my life is fucked because of you, and I've got nothing else to lose. And the other 3, well, they're calculated enough to know how to fucking navigate all the waters.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of people out there right now. So, I mean, let's just say it breaks out. Because, all they dipshit Biden and that guy from California, Swalwell, they're always, we got the nukes and blah, 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 and all this crap.
You don't have
And we got the military and all
What
this
an
crap.
idiot.
Well, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, something cracks off. For the military, half is going to crack off either way.
Yeah.
And that half is probably going to destroy half of whatever they can out the door. So now you've got half the military left with half of the resources. They're not going to last very long at all. And also you're going to have God knows how many countries moving in saying, hey, we'll supply you with this, we'll supply you with that, hook us up with this. When it's all said and done, I mean, France and Spain helped us defeat Simon and then back in the...
That's right.
Oh, that's such a personal attack.
It did
People
sound
will
kind of
have
personal.
interest. You know what?
It did sound kind of
You know
personal.
what? And when you look at things from a different perspective, you're like, well, what would work out better? And this is all hypothetical, obviously, but, say some crazy stuff breaks out. We're relatively safe up here.
Yeah.
And somebody from another country...
Relatively, Billy.
Say just,
That's right.
and there's no law around here.
Lucille's ready.
Everything is falling apart, and the people that are in charge are the worst kind of people that you can imagine. And somebody from, say, Russia, hypothetically speaking, comes over here and says, we'll help your resistance team. You team up with these people. You all defeat them. And then when you get back everything, we won't mess with you anymore. Don't mess with us. Deals. I'm like, you know what? There's people I will work with that were perceived my enemy 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Because honestly, at this point in time, they probably see eye to eye on more things than I do.
Well, look, they want a strong, stable, trustworthy United States because that makes their lives better over there.
Yes.
Look, and a lot of these,
We've just
a lot
stepped
of
too
these,
far.
a lot of these leaders around the world are sick of the lies and the propaganda coming from these administrations and the government here. They can't trust anything they say. And that is bad for business internationally.
Oh,
it's bad for all of us. The only factor that we're not considering here is the 30 to 40 million illegals, which half of them are, military age,
Fighting age
more than
male.
likely are going to be tapped on the shoulder if shit does break out and they're given their orders to go create chaos. That's
what is the trigger for all of that? That's the question. What
I
is
don't
that
know.
all
I
leading up to?
think them stealing this. I don't know. Maybe they thought killing Trump would pop it off and then no election at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our only issue is I don't really trust JD Vance to take over. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Who do we have?
Well, if you don't
have?
trust JD Vance, that's the thing I thought about that. Is like if not him, then I don't really think you have much
he's
of
not
shot.
a bad
I guess
choice.
Thomas Massey, but even Tucker, everybody right now wants to give Tucker the benefit of the doubt and say he's really.
I don't trust him at all. He's CIA.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's media.
and Thomas Massey. Look, this may just be a coincidence, but he was on Tucker a little over a month ago talking about how every member of Congress has a Jewish handler, an AIPAC handler, and that he's the one who does it. And he went on and on about it. And what happened 2 weeks later? His wife turns up dead. You know,
Was that a long-term thing, or what happened?
No, I
there?
don't think she was sick or anything. She just died. She's 51 years old, and since then, I haven't heard much from him. You know.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no,
And
he
so-
did. He actually boycotted Netanyahu's
Did he?
speech. Yeah.
Good for him.
He did
Yeah.
do that.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
look,
That was a passive move, right?
yeah,
That's a passive move.
and
But
lots
it's-
of others
It's a
did
statement,
too.
but it's still a passive move. It isn't.
So I mean,
He's like, he's here for a war rally, and I'm anti-war. I'm not going to be a part of it.
yeah. Look, I would love to see Thomas Massey have a more prominent role in things, but I don't know, man. It was maybe the Trump assassination that went bad was maybe a inflection point, but I think they have to go for broke here. The mask is off. There's no backing off the gas pedal. They're gonna steal it. It's coming.
Well, here's the thing:
It's just a question of whether we're gonna let them do it again.
well, if the illegals are here to cause chaos, then their plan probably is, since they're centered in the cities, is to go out there and basically everybody in the cities will just cower down in their apartments, and they'll have to go and face the people that would be an issue, which would be a lot of the people in the ghettos and the hoods, because, hey, give them credit, they're well armed. I would be if I was them too. I don't agree with their lifestyle. I don't agree with a lot of things about it, but you know what? If they want to police themselves, nobody else is going to go do it, then so, whatever, that's not my argument, but you know, what are the likelihood of these people, just like everybody else, going rogue like we had ISIS do in Syria, where they were formed by the CIA to go in and take out the rebels, and they were formed to go take out Assad in Syria, and they just broke off and formed ISIS and went into Iraq and took it over. So, I mean, who's to say, instead of them going after and taking over people and depleting our resources of people who can fight, they just start taking over the easy stuff, which would be these people in the cities. And now all of a sudden, they have everybody in the cities completely against them, except for the leadership, and all the people who can protect themselves definitely aren't protecting the leadership anymore. I mean, now what do you have? You have multiple cities across the country that are completely failed states that are lost.
They're almost there already. I mean, it's only going to take a little nudge for San Francisco, Seattle, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles
we're in very perilous times. But what I don't want to do is throw gasoline on the fire.
I don't either.
I'd like to tread with a little bit of caution. Have a little bit of faith that things are going to work out. But throwing gasoline on the fire is something I think we need to be very cautious about.
No, but I think these things have to be talked about at this point.
Oh, I agree.
I
agree. But hypothesizing about, civil war outcome or a breakdown of society is, let's accept that we are in perilous times.
It's crazy to think what the next 3 to 4 months is going to be like leading up to this election.
Exactly. Yeah. And these 3 or 4 months, we're going to see some crazy shit over the airwaves.
And let's say that
insane.
And let's say we do get Trump in, and we do somehow prevent a steal. What's going to go on once he actually gets in? Then I mean, look at what they did last time. They tried to frame him for treason. They tried to impeach him twice. They tried to. I mean, they threw everything in the kitchen sink at the guy.
I see martial law.
So what are they going to throw at him this time?
I see martial law.
And I understand that they've set up this dictator narrative, and the reason they have set up the dictator narrative is because we need him to be a bit of a dictator for a while and go after these criminals and throw them in military tribunals and send them to Guantanamo. That's where all of these treasonous bastards should be.
Well, we still know the outcome of a guilty verdict for treason, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as we know.
Well, and we should. Look,
hey,
people like Hillary, they should be locked in a stockade for a week where everybody gets to march through and throw diarrhea and shit at them, and then they should be sent to Guantanamo.
Yeah.
And I think there should be, look, give them you've got a 1 week reconciliation period. If you're willing to come forward and come in front of Congress and admit all of the dastardly shit that you've been up to and what you've been doing, you'll get to go live on this island in the Pacific, and you can live there for the rest of your life, never to come back here again.
I'd be cool.
But if you don't come forward, in that week period, that's what they did in South Africa. Well, during the Mandela times and stuff.
What if we add trial by combat? I mean, why not?
Yeah,
let them just fight it out.
Roman gladiator style.
Just
are you not entertained?
Dude, wouldn't that be?
just let them ride. You can either take your punishment or
Oh,
enter
God,
the
Lucille.
gladiators.
Enter the
arena.
Thunderdome.
Enter the arena.
But
See what you got.
we can all joke about it, but for goodness sake,
That'd be great.
The next 3 or 4 months,
We have to joke about it because it's too
Well, I know,
fucking
what else are you
insane.
gonna do?
It's too
Just
fucking
look-
insane not
Look
to
at
joke
what's
about
going
it.
on in Venezuela right now. I mean,
It's
they're
crazy.
popping off. I mean, there's battles, there's people dying, there's fighting in the streets. I mean,
That's because they
You-
know
you-
this is their last chance at not
this was coming.
being
This has been
complete
building up.
slaves.
and I mean, Venezuela, not that very long ago, in my lifetime, was like the 4th wealthiest country on the planet.
they're sitting on so much liquid gold.
their
It's-
oil wealth is obscene, but their welfare state is more obscene.
yeah.
yeah,
And
but I mean,
there it is, folks.
It is.
and I was talking.
Socialism and Marxism, you run out of somebody else's money.
Well,
That's
Chip and I were
the
talking
time.
about this on before we came over here. I was like, look at that fourth in the world not too long ago. I said I kind of have to have an idea. We probably had a hand in turning that around because we can't have that kind of power down in the southern hemisphere.
Exactly.
With that, and all of a sudden here comes socialism, and all of a sudden what happens? Your oil production goes way down
What do you-
because you have idiots running the oil
Yeah.
industry down there.
What do you think the 70s and 80s were all about? All those banana wars we were fighting all over, Central and South America. It was about putting them in this state where we're holding them off a building with a string, not letting them touch the ground, but not letting them climb up.
And
you know?
isn't it interesting that the Norway shares its oil wealth, and it's one of the wealthiest countries. And let me tell you, do not go there with the US dollar because a pizza will cost you $42. Right? It's unreal. Is it the krona in Norway?
No, that's Denmark.
That's Denmark. What's the Norwegian?
I'm not
Whatever
sure.
it may be. Anyway, but they are supported by their government and their oil wealth, and it is run correctly.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to base a model on oil wealth and distribution of wealth, which is a little bit of socialism in there, but if it's a shared commodity with your citizenry, then you should share the benefit of that wealth. And Norway has done it very, very well.
Yeah.
Everyone else sucks, right? Because corporate greed got it. And the big boys are in there, and it's all about leases and all that.
Well, I mean,
good
John
shit.
Perkins wrote a book about this back not too long ago, Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Yeah.
Where in the 80s, they would go to these countries and say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we'll help fund these highways and airports.
Well,
This kind of stuff.
China owns Africa right now.
And
Yeah.
and if they didn't do it, or if they would give them on loans or something they couldn't pay,
They
then
knew they couldn't pay them.
then they would come back in and they would retake back.
and
well,
they
so you can't
took
pay the
all the
loans.
resources.
Yep, and they would take
Well,
all the resources in return.
It's funny. All the infrastructure that China has put in Africa with the railroads and all sorts of stuff, it's failed miserably. It's all broke and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So if that was their imperial power flexing their industrial might, it's fallen around their ears because nothing works. And all these countries in Africa that fell for that, we'll improve your infrastructure, we'll improve this, hospitals and railroads and airways.
Look, the United States did
It
it.
just broke.
The British did it for the longest time. See, going back to Cecil Rhodes and the whole, colonization and all the stuff they were doing down there. Then the United States was doing it. Now China's done it. I mean, poor Africa. It's just been a punching bag of the world and we've been raping their minerals and their resources.
It is a tragedy. It is an absolute.
Have you seen the rivers of old electronics that it's crazy. We just dump all of our trash there. It's nuts.
Yeah. It's imperialism at its worst.
Yes. It's horrible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And
What else
I mean, how long have we been donating to bring clean water to Africa?
Huh.
And you're telling me you can't figure that out yet? It's because it's all grift. There's all stealing all that money. It's people have got to wake up to it, man.
Well, and then too, and a lot of things people don't think about are simple things. You always see these pictures of African villages, and they'll have Dallas winning the Super Bowl T-shirts because Dallas lost and stuff. And a lot of things people don't understand is that right there, it kills their economies. So
Of course it does.
Yeah.
So when you see signs that say "Don't feed the animals," it's a reason for it because you don't want them to become dependent. Well, if you send those clothes out there, then all of a sudden the people in that country that make the clothes and that sell the clothes, they're now out of business. They have nothing to do because you're just giving a bunch of, you know what I mean? Like things like that. Every time you think you're helping, that's the thing about liberalism that they'll never understand is you can't virtue signal your way into greatness or a better situation. You have to work for it. They think just by opening their hearts up and being a kind person, things work. Like it doesn't. Like you don't help anybody by giving them everything they need. You help them by teaching them how to obtain the things they need.
What you're doing there is feeding that entitlement.
Sure.
You know, an entitlement is we're seeing entitlement ruin this society now. You know, there's no question in my mind. The entitled, it's absolutely offensive.
Yeah.
From
Well,
how
then you
I
have
was
these videos out here of these super obese chicks walking around and saying, "Of course I'm a fat." It's like, "I'm a fat girl. Of course I'm going to get extra." And like, "I'm a fat girl. Of course I need to get a table instead of a booth." And they're glamorizing severe obesity. And these are the same.
Well, it's morbid. It's actually morbid.
Well, yeah, and then the same
Yes.
people sit there and demand that we pay for their health care.
Yeah.
As they rot away and die at 36 years old, and they got to stay alive by machines for the last year of their life. You know what I mean? Like, why are we celebrating this kind of stuff? Like, you're not special. You're not cute. You're not funny. You should be ashamed. Like, I always thought I was kind of a big dude, but I'm about 10 pounds lighter than I was in high school. I've been about the same my entire life. I've always thought to myself, man, I could do a lot better. And I see these people out here that are 150 pounds, 200 pounds heavier than me, just glorifying it in the women of all things. It's like,
well, and think of all the entitlements that we have currently, and then think Kamala Harris, one of her platform issues is universal basic income. And so
how on earth you're
going to make it even worse.
How on earth do you do that? I mean, as an economist, how would you legitimize your...
They don't think of
how
that.
do you say, "Oh man, that'll help us out a whole lot"? No, if the entire country knows everybody in the entire country now has an extra $1,000 to spend, guess what happens to the price of everything in this country? It goes up to accommodate for that extra $1,000, and in a year's time, you ain't making shit extra. You know, if you get out ahead of it and you say, "Well, I take this $1,000 a month and I throw it into Bitcoin," and maybe in a year or two you will have kept its value and maybe increased a little bit, but most of the people, I think that $1,000 is gone before it even hits their bank, and it's worthless in a year because now
Inflation.
the prices of everything.
Well, and you're creating people that are now more dependent on the government and will expect it next time. I mean, it is literally feeding that beast.
And then you can force the way they do things. You know, you control their actions.
Well, they're going to go which way the government goes because that's where their money comes from.
That's right. That's right.
So at that point, what have you got to break?
Yeah.
I'm afraid the government.
Well, I mean, that's clear.
Well, to me, that's the dividing line. Are you for big government or not? That is the dividing line. That's the dividing line.
That is a very key point. You're one or the other, and one has to win over the other because there is no middle ground.
Yeah, the monstrosity that is the federal government has to be destroyed. It has
to go back to its initial founding fathers in how the federal government was supposed to operate. And I don't think that was unreasonable.
No.
But you've got to read the Federalist Papers and understand that argument.
Well, you're
and
not supposed to have a stand in the military either, but I'll be honest with you. If you come out and said, okay, we're going to do a small tax, 5%, 10, whatever be, something very, very small, for the federal government, but it does provide defense for the shores, Navy. I'm fine with that. Like at this point, you can't not say we don't need a military. Like you need people protecting the shorelines. You need people protecting the borders. I'm fine with, a small federal tax going for that and going, to pay the few bureaucrats we have that are operating things. That includes the president and the congressman or whatever. But beyond that, everything else needs to go back to the states as much as it possibly can. The Department of Education, Department of Transportation, Department of Agriculture, all these places, you get more, you get more. You're in trouble now more for distributing raw milk than you are like child pornography.
Yep.
Raw milk.
Yeah.
It's madness.
And that's federal regulations that are just run amok. And I mean, you can't roll those back. You have to take them out.
I think one of the interests, and it's taken a while to figure this out, because I've struggled with how the American political system works, and I finally got I think a reasonable grip on it. And for me, a way of starting to claw back states' rights is having our senators being appointed by the governor, not elected by the people, which is how it was originally. And when you consider the crossover of when congressmen and senators serve and governors serve, it really does balance out and stop this oligarchy and whatever's going on right now. It actually goes to a certain extent. It's going to reduce the ability of DC to be such a powerhouse with politics that aren't elected by the people. So to have senators appointed by the governor with the timelines that are in place for service actually is a very, very good idea.
Yeah, you've got to do the limiting of.
That's exactly what that does.
Limiting of, you can't have these career politicians.
It limits influence as well.
Yes,
because you've got a transition of, so a governor comes in that may be a Democrat, but now he's got senators that were appointed by the previous governor. It actually foments compromise, and that to me is the American dream, is about compromise. So when you can compromise through term limits and difference of power struggles within the mechanics of government, that to me is where the constitutional republic works. And we've actually broken it by that one element, is by making our senators elected. And it's actually broken the ability of compromise within the political system. Figure it out. Think about
the problem,
it.
A big problem is too, you have people in these cities who've been convinced that their vote is important and it matters. And to a certain degree, whatever you want to think, but let's just pull ourselves back and think for a second. 10,000 people on a city block in New York City. What do? They go into work every single day and they produce enough to basically take care of themselves to a certain degree. They're not really producing anything else for anybody else. They're just doing their basic necessities to live, to make another. Everything else has been provided for them. Their housing, their whatever.
Their infrastructure.
And they'll sit there and tell you, well, this one block, we've got 10,000 people on this block. That should make a whole lot more sense than 10 farmers in Nebraska. Now, what do those 10 farmers in Nebraska do? They feed those 10,000 people on that block and 100 other blocks in New York City amongst themselves. What those 10 farmers do compared to those 100,000. So first, we've got to get out of the mindset and get people out of the mindset that every vote counts and it should be like that, because it shouldn't. I'm sorry. If I don't even think you should be able to vote if you're not a net taxpayer. If we're going to,
I agree with that statement 100%.
You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have any skin in the game, why should you be able to vote where our money goes?
Well, and I agree with everything you said on the senators. It's just a question of the practicality. How do we dial government back? How do we get government to agree to move itself back?
Yeah, you're
completely different.
And therein lies the problem. And that has to come from grassroots. It has to come from grassroots.
It's going to take the uprising.
Monumental. It is.
But I think the path to that is quite clear. To me, that path is just slaps me in the face and goes, this is how we can do this.
You've also got to get, lobbyists out of the picture. And
decentralized DC.
You've got to get some truth involved in this. Like the whole green movement is a perfect example of this whole grift that has been built on lie after lie after lie after lie. You've got a lot of these scientists now finally coming out and coming clean and saying, yeah, I was faking all this data because I was paid to.
Everything's marketing.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
it's all nonsense. And then how many other policies and decisions have been made off the fact that we're killing the earth when we're not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, so you've got to get get that shit under control somehow.
We've lost truth.
Yes.
We have lost honesty. We have lost integrity.
Yes.
And how we get that back, I don't know. But for me, that is a path back to the founding fathers' vision. which is genius.
It really is.
It doesn't need to be an experiment that we fail at, and we're on the precipice of failing.
Yes.
So that's the path back that I see is it's achievable.
Yeah.
It's something that can be done, and I don't understand the resistance.
Well, it's an education thing. I mean, most people our age and younger are
what are civics classes now?
So
what are they?
I mean, even when we were in school, they weren't great. You know what I mean? They didn't really teach you that stuff.
I had a teacher,
like
my senior year, and I was taking a class, SAT prep class, because SAT is very important or whatever. If you want to go to college, blah blah blah. So half the class was English for the English half, and half the class was math. So we'd alternate days, weeks, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And my English section, there, like the last 30 minutes of every single class, she would get up and out of the book read us Harry Potter. I'm a senior in high school. I don't give a shit about Harry Potter. And she is reading that to us the last 30 minutes of class. I'm falling asleep every day. I'm like, this is supposed to be an SAT prep class. This is high school in 2000.
Wow.
So, I mean, at least back then, at the minimum back then, it was shit. And
damn, Hagrid.
Yeah. And I mean, and then even the math side, it was like he's walking around with little flashcards and stuff like we're in the 4th grade. And I'm sleeping during that too. I slept through most of my senior year. I played football.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Northcross for 2 years in 8th and 9th grade, which is a private school in Roanoke. And when I went back to Franklin County for sophomore, junior, and senior year, I never had to write another paper, read another book. I'd done all that work in 2 years to get me through the last 3 years.
Wow.
There. Yeah.
Well, that tells you that system's broke.
Well, I looked up because my social studies teacher, he kind of followed me. You know how teachers would move up. Like I had him in 8th grade, and in 8th grade, he was famous for rolling his own cigarettes in class. Which was kind of cool. Yeah, it was kind of cool. He was one of those guys.
Cigarettes?
Oh, well, some of us thought
they were English cigarettes.
Right? Exactly. So he was really cool in that way. And so then, like, as I got to like 11th grade, like the AP class I took was him again. But he was a socialist, like 100% socialist. But he didn't really highlight that aspect of the history. He highlighted the anti-government part of it, like the part we could kind of agree on. And so that kind of made things okay in terms of how he taught us.
Yeah.
But looking back and seeing him now, where he is now and how vocal he is now and what he taught us then, I'm like, man, he could have been the whole other way and trying to inundate us, but he didn't. He was being honest.
And the newer version of him is that way. Though.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly. That is the problem. Yep. And he would take it that way.
They're coming out of these teacher schools with, almost MK Ultra level mind control programming as to how to do this now.
Yep.
And it's like I've said, just because there isn't a, like a Black Lives Matter class in school, they're teaching it in everything they're doing.
It's an entirely tribal situation.
It's weaved into everything that they're doing in every class. Like the math problems are written in a way that highlights some form of inequity that they perceive and are trying to push on everyone.
Talk about inequity.
Yeah.
I just walked in here.
More inclusion.
Inclusion.
So that's our DEI hire over there.
So I think equity,
inclusion, diversity.
But going along with what you're
I'm the face of all three.
Going along with what you're saying with revitalizing and restarting the kind of vision of the founding fathers has to go hand in hand with complete destruction and rebuilding of the education system.
Oh, without question.
You're just not going to be able to get the population on board with the way that they're currently being taught things. That all those old white men were all horrible racists that founded this country.
Well, I know
what I mean, because that's what they're portrayed as today.
And we had it in Patrick. I'm sure y'all had it here, and where you had regional schools, or you had like a family that was the school for a certain area. And all the people went to that school, in your areas, they had it as well. I'm sure that's,
Yeah, it was called our
taught each other. That's right.
Mom taught all 8 of us.
But that's how it could work.
Well, it's community
without
schools
government being involved.
Yeah, basically now everywhere in Franklin County where there is an elementary school, at one point in time,
That was a
70
community.
years ago, was basically the high school, you know, and you had little schoolhouses around the community or whatever that would teach the the younger grades.
Well, the high schoolers were teaching the younger grades.
Yeah,
and picking them up and bringing them to school.
and you weren't in school 8
The high
hours a day.
schoolers were driving the school buses.
Like there's no reason
my
we
dad
should
did. He drove the
expect
school
a
bus.
5,
Yep.
6, 7, 8, up to 13, 14-year-old child to sit 8 hours a day in a desk. Like this just like, do you have kids? Do you see what your kids do nonstop? Like they are running, moving. Like it's wrong to put them in a desk for 8 hours a day. Like they need to be out exploring, learning things.
It's even
Well, some
worse
of them in
than
the
that.
room are running and
Amos,
pulling drapes off the wall.
It's worse than that now with the elementary school closures that we're facing across the nation. We and it's not just Franklin County. Let's be inclusive here.
Everywhere.
It's everywhere. So these
Well, they want to
elementary schools
consolidate.
well, what they're doing is putting school kids on a bus for 2 hours a day, plus 8 hours a day.
But they don't care because here's the thing. Think about a factory. If you're running a factory and you got to have 100 people in there to produce whatever you're producing hats or whatever, but you found a way that you could move your operation 30 miles down the road. You only need 40 workers to reach the same standards, and you can make the same amount of money. What are you going to do? Well, think about it. They've dropped the standards so much that it takes jack shit to graduate anymore. So what's that mean? Well, one teacher can handle 30, 35 kids, even 40 at some point in time if they need to. That's their thinking.
Because they're batshit crazy.
And that's what they're thinking. But that's what they're thinking. So now instead of having these schools spread out where the class sizes are relatively small, well, we can make the same money and we can get the same results because the standards are lower. The standards are lower. We can still graduate the same amount of people, get the same money. We're paying less people. Now we can pay administrators more money. We can pay, this person more money.
They also know that with mind control and basic mind control techniques, that the more tired you can keep somebody, the more stressed out you can keep somebody, the more fearful you can keep somebody, the easier it is to implement your agenda onto them,
and
it's
create a environment of you have to be sympathetic to everybody, no matter if you have a bully in the classroom or somebody that's absolutely disrupting, destructing everything. Well, his mama's in jail. He's raised by his grandparents. You got to feel sorry for him. No, well, yeah, you should. But that
not at the expense of every other kid.
And my little girl went through 2nd grade last year, and at the end of 2nd grade, literally, me and my wife, and we are very active in home, her studies, her homework. There ain't no homework. We make homework. There was absolutely zero improvement or progression in like her math and reading.
Yeah.
Through the entire 2nd grade. What she knew coming out of 2nd grade seemed to us the same thing she knew going in. So a friend of mine, been a teacher for 30 years. I hit her up and, she's getting close to retirement age. And I was like, listen, I'll pay you to tutor my daughter all summer long. And she's like, all right. She was like, bring her over. I want to know what she knows.
Yeah.
Because she don't teach at that elementary. She teaches in Franklin County, but not at that school. And so she set Callie down, basically did a pretty quick evaluation of math, reading, all that. All right. I want 2 days a week. Every Monday, 1 hour a day. Every Thursday, 1 hour. She is teaching her out of like a 1984 curriculum.
Uh-huh.
Like she sat down with the books and she was like, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, the way that we're teaching these kids,
it's ridiculous.
It's unlearnable.
Yeah, it is.
In a month, my daughter, it was almost mind boggling to me, the difference of her in eight sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Where she was and where she got to that fast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all last year, she had a couple students in her class that literally flipped desks, ripped the drapes off the walls, and they would put them in padded rooms, but they ain't allowed to get rid of them.
The blue room.
And Callie's just like me, attention span about that long. You can't learn in that environment.
No, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
well, it's not safe. It's trauma-based control, and it's just because she's not acting up, she's experiencing that, that issue, and it's putting her in a place that is incapable of actually learning.
And especially so you have students that are compassionate, non-aggressive. So guess what group that aggressive students get put with?
Yeah.
And, the lady that's tutoring her, I was like, now, be honest with me. School starts again. Where do you see her? What happens? And she was like, I'll be completely honest. In a classroom setting with minimal interruption, she'll be fine. But in a classroom setting where,
pandemonium.
Chaos. She was like, she's going to suffer.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about, you said we got to completely destruct the education system and rebuild it. We ain't got to worry about disrupting it.
Oh, yeah.
It's
It is self-destructing itself.
Yeah.
Hence the reason that all these schools are closed.
Well, yeah. People are just
pulling them
kids
out. Now, at what point, because this has already happened once in history, and this was when I was a kid. Mom was homeschooling us, all the Amish, Mennonites, German Baptists, and it was either Ohio or Indiana state legislatures. They passed laws that all the kids had to go to public school.
Yeah,
and the cops were showing up at these Amish people's houses, dragging these kids out, and putting them on school buses. At what point does enough parents start? At what point do they come after you?
They're going to try.
Well, at what point does the system fail? Because when you take the kids away from the school system, there are financial penalties for that.
They lose federal funding.
It forces the collapse of the school system.
Well, I can tell you,
which is where we're at now.
I can tell you this. So I've gone to, because my son Noah just turned 5. He is not going to school. He's going to be homeschooled. And so we've gone to several homeschool things recently, like these different
co-op.
Yeah, they've had like these big homeschool events, and then they had this like information session that a group of moms put on at the public library like a month ago, and we went to that. And
most of them moms.
And it's interesting because like the state now is disguising these homeschool programs online as homeschool programs, but they're actually affiliated with the public school,
right.
And they're like, so they are trying. And if you sign up,
indoctrination,
and if you sign up for one of those, then you're considered as still part of the public school system.
Yes, yeah.
And they're getting money for that still. Yes, so they're figuring out ways to get around. It's crazy, but it's the exact same curriculum as what they're learning in the public school system.
My brother and sister-in-law, they homeschool all their kids, and they go through an accredited program, a Becca or something like that. But they drive to Harrisonburg. That's the closest place they can go to get their literature, which none of it's online. It's all pencil and paper school.
Yeah.
But it's accredited. All the colleges look at it just the same as if you went to a public school. Probably
better.
Yeah.
Wait till they start withdrawing the accreditation.
And we heard that like when we were homeschooled, like my oldest sister got into the medical field and was in med school and stuff. And it was almost, they were excited. They put homeschoolers above.
They do, because they come out leaps and bounds above where these kids are graduating from public school. Even the top level kids coming out of public school, homeschool kids are 20 to 30% ahead of them in every metric.
Makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the socialization is the only issue.
But there's so many other ways.
And I held that against my parents forever.
Well, but nowadays they have ways that you can compete.
Yeah,
and
we see how that worked out for Tim Tebow.
So
they booted him right quick.
Oh, yeah.
That dude's making.
And that was all it was over. Oh, he's making more money now than he was then.
Oh, yeah.
But that was all. It was over every bit of the don't bring your Christianness into our stadium.
Yeah.
They sooner see you kneel to the flag than kneel to the Lord.
Yeah, and
That's
even
right.
still, you can find homeschool groups on Facebook and stuff that are legit, and they're like, hey, we're coming and hanging out and doing this today.
Oh,
we're
yeah,
doing
there's
that
all
today.
sorts of different.
Like, you just go to the park, your kid can socialize. Go to church, your kids. Like, there's plenty of places.
Now,
Play
when I was
rec-
homeschooled, there wasn't that kind of networking.
Play rec
Right.
sports.
Well,
So,
when
no,
it
there
went
wasn't. It
down,
wasn't possible.
But nowadays, it's everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's everywhere.
I mean, a
School
bunch of
freedom
my
has a
friends-
push right now.
Yeah,
that
there's-
is movement
And actually,
right
the
now for that.
socialization, and we should actually probably talk about what the socialization of
better.
public school does. You're putting your kids in the same spaces as kids
Putting
that
them-
have no learning, who have no discipline, who are completely
You're putting them in
disruptive. And a lot of the times, like for most kids, school was the first and only place they ever actually
experience
feel it.
violence.
Yeah, it's schools. Because they're, think about it, they're just being thrown into a melting pot with
It's-
a bunch of other kids.
Kids are mean.
It's prison
Yeah.
training. It's
Floor
prison.
flies.
It's prison
Floor flies.
training.
Mhm.
They line you up. There's bells. You're not allowed to get up. You're only allowed to go here at this time. Get in line. Walk over here. Stay here. Sit
Raise
there
your
all
hand to
day
go to the
long.
bathroom.
It's prison training. Most of these schools look like prisons.
And the amount of schoolwork they do in an 8-hour period
Oh, it's you
could be
can
done
do
by
it
10
in,
a.m.
You can do in an hour.
Yeah.
You
And then
can
they got
do
the
it
nerve
in
to
an
send you
hour.
home with homework. Why? So
Well, they don't.
that
Not
also,
anymore.
well, even back then they did
Yeah.
that. That would pull you
Oh,
away
we
from
did.
time with your parents.
That's
It's like,
right.
okay, well, instead of our parents, and for the parents too, they were conditioned to think, well, good, we need this break.
Yeah.
We need a break and let them do their homework. We can watch TV and do whatever we want to do. But I don't ever take breaks with my kids. Like I don't have the
know.
luxury. Like I don't.
You
I,
can't.
it's not like
You don't have. Yeah.
no, we don't. I don't send them in a corner so I can sit around and watch TV like we're always doing stuff with.
You was raised different than me. We got off the bus. All right, get the goats milk, get them fed, get the cows fed, then come in and get your homework
That's what I'm
done.
talking about. That's
And you didn't dare miss the bus in the morning because you weren't going to sit in your room and play video games. There was always a barn that needed to be cleaned out, this and this and this. You missed. You made sure you caught the bus from one end of that half-mile driveway to the other.
I can't imagine putting my kid on a school bus these days. Are you kidding me?
well, I hated getting
My
back in the
God.
90s.
I take mine to school every day.
I hated on the 90s doing it. I didn't want to do it because my school bus went through
Yeah,
Doe
that's it.
Run. I'm like, I don't want to
Win
go
the
on the
liquors
bus.
for days.
Well, then living out here in Ferrum, I know that I would have been on. I probably would have gotten home at
longest
like
run.
4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yep.
And I mean, you're there at what 8:15, 8:30 in the morning. And to your point, now they're going to have these kids 10 hours a day in a traumatic situation. They're just going to be so easy to imprint with whatever propaganda they want to put into it.
And
It's
the thing
just-
is like when we were going to school. Well, you was out of school before I was born, probably, Simon. But
Did.
Roger
He
that
went, he
and
went to
shit.
one of those hoity-toity
Yeah.
British schools. He
But,
held his
I
pinky
mean,
out all day.
it really wasn't like that.
Pinkies up, mate. Pinkies up.
All the teachers they didn't retire when they could retire. They taught till they were
Because they love doing it.
yes. Nowadays, most of these teachers
Put in their 20 and get the hell out as fast
Yeah.
as they can.
Here's an interesting thing that I've brought up a couple of times.
that you've what?
A couple of things. This is something I've brought up a couple of times.
Well,
When I went to school, right back in the dark ages, we had the majority of schoolmasters, and you called them sir.
The school
The majority of teachers were men.
Huh.
That was never the case here.
That was never the case here. Yeah. It was
Interesting.
almost all women.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and the
the
men that
opposite.
you do had were always a little quirky.
They,
You know
well,
what I
they're
mean?
quirky.
You really never had.
Mr.
Definitely
Right.
a little light in the loafers, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
Well, yeah, no, Mr. Gable, he never had a wife
Yeah.
or anything. I don't think he was lighting low.
He lived in an underground house.
Yeah, lived in an underground house.
But he
never
built
had-
a
they're just
tower
all
out of the
quirky.
creek,
He was
Yeah.
a weirdo. I mean,
out of his
he's a strange guy.
Subaru.
That's right. I mean, just,
But I'm seeing an enormous amount of females in the education system here, and I don't see that necessarily as a good thing. And I'm not being.
But it has to be that way because both parents have to work. So a teacher is a good job for the wife. She can be off all summer, and the man has,
but not
Secondary
anymore.
job.
This isn't 40 years ago. The coal mines don't employ everybody. The factories don't employ everybody. We don't have the jobs. Basically, everything's just a giant gaggle fuck. Where I mean, what job? Like there are very few jobs out there anymore that that you really want a man in there doing, because most of the things went automated. So yeah, you still got your linemen, you still got a few guys going in the coal mines. You still got your builders and roofers. Most of that work's being done by immigrants nowadays. Like a lot of your stick building is in a lot of places. So most of the guys are going into IT, or they're trying to be influencers, or they're doing nothing, or they're gamers, or they're teachers.
The biggest problem,
nurses.
the biggest problem you got with teachers now is the teachers union. I mean, they guide the whole. I mean, you don't actually have teachers arguing for what's better for them. You have a union that
look at during COVID.
Well, they say
what they did during COVID.
They say there isn't a teachers' union in
That's
Virginia.
That's the demise of the education system.
They say there is not
it opened people's eyes.
Everybody started figuring it out.
Yeah. We do not have a teachers' union in Virginia.
There's a federal.
We have a state curriculum they have to go by, though.
So, but there's they figured out a way around that.
And the one section in Virginia's guidelines to get a child expelled from a public school is 95 pages long.
That's absurd.
I've got to print it off.
That's absurd.
I mean, you should go back.
That's crazy.
I mean, we should be encouraging going back for schools for teaching local history and state history, and being a big emphasis on that. Like, we should celebrate our regional differences. We should celebrate our cultures. Like right now, they're trying to make it to where everybody in California thinks like everybody here. I don't want that. They want everybody in Oregon to think like everybody in Texas, everybody in New Mexico to think like everybody in New York. They want us all sounding the same, looking the same. That way, it's easier to implement things, because I don't know, but because it makes it seem like we're just this big.
Yep, because it's all the same. If you run
think about that
everybody run
Appalachian dialect, that
that is
it's gone. The Appalachian dialect is gone. Like
that is the purest form of English to English. I just read this big article on it, that the Appalachian dialect is to old
English.
Yes,
I figured that's why Simon moved here.
Yes. Because he's like, damn, this voice is almost
like, right
as
here,
sexy
this
as
is
I
it.
am voice-wise.
These are my boys.
Yeah.
Well, he was
my brothers.
I get them linguistically.
Well,
God, the sarcasm.
Topher Fields, we met Topher for 2 days up there in D.C., and he was like, damn, I think I was Appalachian my whole life, just didn't know it.
Then what is Appalachian?
Know where it was either.
Where's the fucking Appalachian?
Yeah. Man, where is Topher Fields?
Let's be honest, Simon was probably stationed here, if anything.
That's right.
He was placed here.
So yes, Topher and Simon probably been friends for 30 years.
About everybody we meet out in public is probably not an accident. It's probably not.
Man, I can't believe you.
Well, you got those connections too, Billy. I don't want to hear it. I saw you at the LP convention. Yeah.
And at the opening ceremony at the Olympics.
Billy was there too.
Yeah,
He was the big blue guy in the middle of the table.
Did you see it?
Wait, was he the blue one?
My biggest concern is why you have a picture of some dude's balls on your phone.
Don't let the FBI catch you with that, by the way.
Oof.
Oh, dear.
Oh, damn, Billy. I think he's got you. I think he's got you.
That's the second time. Beach pictures.
Oh, my God.
Beach pictures and now opening ceremony. I mean, he does have a future in showbiz.
Man.
Jesus.
Drops out.
How atrocious was that opening ceremony? I mean, my
that
God.
was
How dare
France
they,
on parade.
How dare they come back and think that they can wipe the slate clean by saying, we're sorry.
They're not
you
sorry.
Can suck a bag of
We didn't
dicks
mean
on
to.
that
They're
one.
not sorry. Look at the opening ceremonies from 2012 was basically like a foreshadowing of the whole COVID nonsense. You know what I mean? Like chasing them around with the vaccine thing and the killing the kid with the vaccine.
That's the doctors, that's the nurses, like the TikTok.
Yes.
How
it's just
fucking
dare
crazy.
you think that you can make an apology 2 or 3 days later, having made that obscene gesture?
That was the plan the whole time.
You know, the funny thing is,
so
so they did that for the opening ceremonies, and now all the organizers and like
the French even more.
and the French and the French leaders like Macron are all praying. They're praying to God now
Yeah, they better be.
that the
Too late.
that the river cleans up in time to have the
saying,
swimming events because it's full of shit and E. coli.
I thought the one dude was going to swim in it.
They're supposed to, but
No, I'm saying like one of the big wheels.
They should make Macron
was
swim in
supposed
it.
to swim in it.
He wouldn't do it.
No, because it's full of shit and E. coli. Don't
Oh
kill
my
him
God.
How embarrassing is that?
because he has a weak constitution to begin with. He's married to a 70-year-old.
I was going to
fucking
say,
man.
jeez.
Yeah, there you go.
But
It's clearly a dude.
Woof.
It was his art teacher or
He
something.
was 15.
He was 15. She
nailed him when he was 15
He-
and was his teacher.
He
whatever
What?
it was.
Hang on,
It's
hang
a
on.
Whatever it was.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Let me step back a second.
You didn't know that?
Hit me with this now. Just for
Yeah,
shits
so
and
The
we're-
gender is a little purple smoke, but the other part is completely true.
Wow. I think the gender's complete. I think it's clearly a dude.
So he's married to his art teacher.
From when he was 15.
He was
And he was
15 and
15,
she
correct.
was what?
30.
30 something,
And
36,
she
37.
acknowledges. She says, "Yes,
Yes.
we
But
knocked
is it
around."
a she or he?
It's a he who dresses as a woman.
Oh dear Lord.
Yes.
Well, art people.
Well, look up the picture, right? Look up
Pull
the
it
picture
up.
and decide for yourself.
Vive la France.
We've-
You know,
Vive la
I
France.
thought about this the other day, though.
Vive la France.
Jean Valjean.
I thought about the symbolism.
Le singe dans l'arbre.
I'm gonna look up.
If anyone looks
Hold
up
up.
that translation, I'm in shit.
She is significantly older than that.
Yeah,
dude.
way
I mean,
older.
like significantly.
older.
It's and like taller, and it's creepy.
Wider shoulders.
It is really. It
Does
is
she got an Adam's apple?
bigger dick.
it's entirely possible.
She's Neanderthal. Anyway, we're passing around a picture.
She's not as big. I don't think her shoulders are quite as big as Michelle Obama's. but-
No, Big Mike's got him beat. I mean, that's the
I mean,
biggest.
We're talking about linebacker. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, I'm hoping here. I'm hoping here in the next few weeks we can get a chance. I really would love to get
I'll give it a
Brian and
benefit of the
Darnell
doubt.
back on with this mix of people right
That's-
here and have some honest conversations about it. But I really do want to ask a question. I remember we had the first show up here within years back, you know, and I could be wrong about it, but I thought, you know, ask him why Obama. I said, well, you know, he's a black guy, and I want to just take him and Kamala both right now and pull back for a second and think, well, by their own admission, whether you believe who's father or not, by their own admission, Obama is the only person who has an American parent,
Yeah.
and she's white. Kamala is Jamaican and Indian. Obama is actually African and white. Like there's not an actual black American in there. Like,
Nope.
So why is it that somebody like Ben Carson gets thrown under the bus because of his political views?
Because Uncle Tom.
And that's what they'll say. But he actually
That's
represents what it means to be a black American when Obama and Kamala, neither one, or actually have any connection with us to be a black American. Yeah, you have black people in Nigeria, they're not black Americans. Let's be honest about what it means to be black in this country. And obviously if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you're not. So I guess for those who do vote for Joe Biden, I mean, what does it mean to be black
John
in
ain't
this
black.
country?
Well, they're acknowledging that there's a double standard at this point. I mean, they're doing the white dudes for. They're acknowledging a double standard,
But they don't know
'Cause
what
Trump-
the girl.
Trump
Well, they
could
don't even
not
know what
do
the
that.
dude and a woman is. They don't know the difference.
right?
So how do you know whether you got white dudes or? Yeah, I mean, I
I want to be honest with you. I mean, it would seem to be like people sitting around in this room who were consistently driven as white supremacists or racists, whatever, like hillbilly, slackjaws, whatever you want to call it. And we're more open to actually people in the black community than anybody in DC would ever be. And we're not trying to shove somebody who's actually not black down your throat. I would much rather see somebody like Brian or Darnell or John or somebody in a political position, because at least I know they're coming from an honest place. These people aren't coming from an honest place.
by the way,
They are selling you on an American blackness that doesn't exist. Michael Jordan is what you think about when you think of American black. You know what I mean? Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton, whether you agree with them or not. I mean, at the least. But I mean, not even them, just regular people out here working 9-to-5 jobs, 8 to 4 jobs in factories, going home, doing logging, whatever they're doing, black, white, it doesn't matter. Those are Americans. You know, color be damned. But if we're going to do the political identity stuff, and that's the game we're going to play, then let's have a conversation about it. She's not black, neither is Obama.
well, if we're gonna do a
So
political identity,
why are you accepting it?
Well,
Why
listen,
why are we having to accept it?
all of them got to do 23andMe, so we know what they are.
Identity politics is a
I agree.
disastrous topic for us all to get into because it's divisive.
And Dennis said that
Agreed.
I think we
Agreed.
should know what all of their lineages are because, look, Obama is what, like 8th cousins with Hillary?
All righty, everybody. That's the end of part 1. This one ran over a whole lot longer than we anticipated, so we split it into 2 shows. If you want to listen to the entire show before anybody else, please go subscribe at patreon.com/getontap. Every little bit helps. It really pays the bills for us and gets us to places, and it's really pushing us in the right direction, and we appreciate everybody that's helped us out. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up here in the near future. So all of our subscribers are going to be first in line for that. So stick around and please become a subscriber. It's supporting local in the best possible way you can. We really do take it and invest it right back in our community. So for everybody listening to this publicly, if you want to listen to the rest of it, go to patreon.com/getontap. Or if you are a subscriber already, just go ahead and wait out this message and we'll pick up right back on part 2. So thank everybody for showing up. Chip, being Libertarian, go give them a follow. Stuart, Simon, Amos. We'll catch you for the next time. Subscribers, enjoy the rest of the show.
He didn't signal while changing lanes. They pulled him over, found her cocaine. She said, I love you. Yes, I love you forevermore. If you tell that policeman that cocaine load is yours, he spent time locked up while she ran around. Everyone knew it, small country town. While he lay rotten, Lord, she was blowing on his door. And the day they released him, well, he had nowhere to go. Lord, and his ashes to ashes, and you know it's dust to dust. Just another low down woman that a man can't trust. They released him, no one was there. Had she forgotten? Did she still care? He called up her mama, Lord, and these words he heard her cry. Lord, that no good daughter of mine spend all your money on cocaine, overdosed and died. Lord, it's ashes to ashes, and you know it's dust to dust. Just another low down woman that a man can't trust. spring.